Hi everyone, welcome to Kara's book review. I am reviewing the book today, Ready Player One. Hopefully you can see that and the glare is not too bad. There you go. By Ernest Cline. And if you're like me and I had never heard about this book until I saw a movie trailer for it and thought, that movie looks really interesting. And then I saw that it was based on a book, and I thought, I need to read that book. So my friend actually got a copy from Goodreads, one of their free giveaways, and so she lent it to me, which was awesome. And I think I'm going to have to buy this one for myself because I quite enjoyed it. So if you are new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. If you would like to please like or subscribe, click the buttons right below. That'd be great. But yeah, let's get into it. So this book follows the perspective of our main character, Wade Watts, who is an 18-year-old boy. And to kind of give you a little bit of a summary, the world is in a huge energy crisis. There is a huge amount of overpopulation, and so resources are really limited. There's a lot of energy, job, food, all of that is really limited. And so a lot of people go into this virtual world called the Oasis. And the Oasis is so cool. It is a virtual world where basically anything can happen, which, I mean, come on, that's pretty awesome. And so you follow our 18-year-old male protagonist, Wade, as he kind of deals with all of these things going on. So the outside world is just crappy. And so he goes to the Oasis for an escape. And part of the Oasis, they have a really cool thing where they have a ton of archived information. So books, libraries, knowledge, movies, video games, internet, basically anything that you could hope to get in a hard copy is stored in the Oasis. And they actually have one of the worlds that is created in the Oasis is for learning. So it's literally an entire world just full of schools so you can learn. How cool is that? I mean, I'm a huge nerd. I loved school, so I thought that was pretty awesome. So Wade lives in the slums of the real world, where people have become so limited in space that they have taken trailer parks to the extreme. And when I mean taking trailer parks to the extreme, I mean they are stacking trailers on top of each other for space. Does that seem safe to you? Doesn't seem safe to me either, but that's what they're doing. That's what they thought was a great idea to do. So, and since space is so limited, that's kind of what they have to do to live. And so Wade lives with his mom. Both of his parents have passed away, and he lives with his aunt and her boyfriend and like 4 other families in this tiny trailer, which, how do you even get that many people in a trailer? Like, are trailers bigger in this world than in the trailers I've been in? Because trailers I've been in, not that big. Anyways, so also I forgot to mention this world is taking place a little bit into the future. The year is 2045, which is about 30 years. I can do math. 30 years from now. So there's wars, like I said, famine, all this terrible stuff. And people go to the Oasis for escape. You can buy things on the Oasis, you can sell things, you can learn, you can really do whatever you want. And money from the real world can be transferred into the Oasis and money made in Oasis can be transferred to the real world. So it's kind of, people accept money from both places. And so, but since Wade lives in the slums, he doesn't have any money. He's really poor. So all he really can use the Oasis for is their free benefits, I guess you could call it. He can go to school because anyone is allowed to go to school as long as you can provide like a physical location and prove you're a real person. And then once you go to school, I mean, you can do anything in the Oasis as long as you have money. And the creator, kind of the backstory for the Oasis itself, there's a video game creator called James Halliday, and he's the one that created the Oasis. And when he dies, he never married, he has no heirs, he has no close family of any kind. So basically, he's the wealthiest man alive because he created the Oasis, and the Oasis was so completely, like, everyone uses it, and it was so popular, and so he became super famous and rich. Well, when he dies, because he has no heirs, he has a video made for his will, and they air it on, like, the news and media, and his will basically states that he has put in place 3 keys, and if you can find all 3 keys and unlock them, then essentially you become the owner of the Oasis and you get his entire fortune. So you can imagine with how much the energy crisis is and everything, everyone is looking to go into the Oasis to find what they are calling Easter eggs. And so that's kind of the backstory of like what's motivating people, what the world is like, the real world, and why people are going to the Oasis. So everyone's character in the Oasis has a little like different name, so you don't have to go by your real name. You know, when you create a character for a game, you can create a different name for them. And so Wade's character's name is Parzival. And so that's kind of what he goes by in the Oasis, is Parzival. And so you meet along the way as you're in the Oasis his friend H, who also goes to a school that not the same school as him, but like on the same world as him. And they have these little virtual rooms that you can meet up in to play video games, chat. It's kind of like a chat room, but like, because it's a virtual reality, you can physically, your character can physically go there and meet with people. So it's like a step up from a chat room, which was pretty cool. So he goes there a lot, they hang out, they play video games and watch movies and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff about finding Halliday's keys or Easter eggs is finding things that he loved. So he leaves these little clues behind to find the keys, and the clues are based on Halliday's favorite things. And so they basically created a huge, they call it an almanac or a book, full of all of these tidbits of things that Halliday loves. And then people study it and figure out, if that will help them try and find the keys. So that was pretty cool. You get a lot of different references. Halliday grew up in the 80s, so there's a ton of 80s pop culture references in this book, a lot of different movies. My personal favorite, and I was so excited that they referenced it, was Better Off Dead. And if you've watched that movie, and you know what I'm talking about, because I loved it. So yeah, he references that movie twice, and I was so excited. I love that movie so much. But they also reference quite a few others. And of course now my mind is blinking, but The Breakfast Club, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, those type of movies were referenced. There's a ton of video games because of course Halliday is a video game programmer, and so that was one of his passions. But don't worry if you've never seen or heard of those video games, because the author does a very good job of explaining what the video game is, how to win, kind of like what the characters look like in the game. So I didn't have any problem, and I'm not a huge video game fanatic. I didn't know any of the video games, honestly, that were referenced, and I didn't have any issue like visualizing what was being played. And so the book kind of follows Wade as he's searching for these keys. And so along the way, like I said, his friend H, and then you also meet a couple other characters that are referenced quite a bit, and they kind of form a friendship. So the first one besides H would be Artemis. And Artemis is pretty well known. She has a blog, and she goes like on all of these quests. She is a huge hunter for Halliday's keys, and so she's very well known in that culture, I guess you could say, where people are searching for these keys. It really has become a whole culture in this book of people trying to find the keys. And so some people blog about it, some people, team up and make groups. So yeah, it's kind of that culture, and Artemis is a blogger, so that's what she does. And so actually Wade really likes Artemis. He's been following her blog for forever, and so then he really has a crush on her. And so when he meets her, he like gushes about her, and he just loves her. Even though he knows, like, logically, anyone you meet on the internet really is gonna be just anybody, It's not just this one, what their avatar looks like. And logically he knows this, but he still like has this massive crush on her, which I thought was interesting. Anyways, after he meets her, they start chatting a lot. They get pretty close as friends. And then you also meet two others. They are dressed as samurai, and they're from Japan. And so I don't know if I'm going to get these names right, but the first one is Daito, and the other one is Shoto. So hopefully I pronounced those right. But so these top 5 are really the main kind of group that you see. They don't interact super a lot because each of them wants to find the keys on their own, but they kind of also help each other along the way, and like, not like, here, let's team up and do this, but oh well, if you help me do this, then I'll help you do this kind of thing. That's the kind of team that they make, if that makes any sense. So yeah, and then also there's the evil corporation that's trying to take over the Oasis, and that's called the IOS, or IOI, and that actually stands for something, but I have no idea what it stands for. Basically, they have a group of people that they have employed to try and find the keys, and if they find the keys, then they get ownership of the Oasis, and they have already come out and said they want to own the Oasis so they can raise the rates, get more money. It's a corporation that's all about the money, and they don't really care about people. Oasis really does care about the people. They want people to be in it, even if you can't like afford anything in it. They have so much stuff that you could do as a free, just as a free resource. And where resources are so limited in this world, it's a huge thing for Oasis for people to use. And so a lot of people hate the corporation IOI because they don't want that to be taken away. I mean, who would? So those are like the main characters of the book. Some parts I did find to be a little bit slow, but overall the pacing was really good. And also this book I would classify as sci-fi with a little bit of nerd thrown in. By nerd, I mean there's quite a few Dungeons and Dragons references and also a ton of video games, like I said. So, but I'm not really a huge sci-fi fan, and I still loved this book. So even if you're not a huge sci-fi fan, I wouldn't let that deter you from this book because I quite enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars and read it in a couple of days. So I thought it was quite enjoyable. The action scenes I feel like make up for the slow parts, and even the slow parts really have meaning because they really help with the character development of Wade. I really liked the character development of Wade. I thought I really enjoyed him more towards the end of the book than I did at the beginning. And I think honestly I loved H the best, even though you don't get a ton of book time with that character. It's good. They're so sarcastic, and I just love the dialogue between H and Wade, and I just thought they were really great. So yeah, my husband also just read this book right after I did, and I asked him for a few things that he really loved to read. He really loved, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, it references the Tomb of Horrors. If you're not a Dungeons and Dragons fan, that basically is exactly what it sounds like. A tomb filled with horrors. Lots of monsters, lots of traps. Really fun to read about. It was a great time. Also, it references Wil Wheaton, and my husband's a huge fan of Wil Wheaton, so my husband loved that. And also, there's a part where if you get far enough in the book, the characters can receive this robot. And basically, in my head, I was just picturing like the Power Rangers robots or the Transformers robots. But the one my husband really loved was the Voltron Tigers. He was upset that they did not come together to form the Ultimate Voltron, though. Basically, I looked it up, and it's just like Power Rangers. If you don't know what Voltron is, don't worry. It's fine. Just picture a giant robot, and you're good. Okay? And then something I really loved was in between. This book has sections. You know how sometimes books have section 1, section 2, section 3 with the chapters in between. This book does that, where it's like section 1, section 2, section 3 for each of the keys. And it has this little like quote in front of each section, and they're kind of sad if you take them just as they are, but I read them sarcastically, so I found them quite enjoyable. I don't know if yeah, anyways. Yeah, those were some of my favorite things about this book. Like I said, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. If you have read this book, go ahead and tell me if you agreed with what I thought, or if you have anything else to add. What were some of your favorite parts? If you haven't read the book, hopefully this inspires you to go read it because it's really great. And I think the movie is coming out sometime in May, April or May. So try and get on that before, because I personally like having my own ideas for what the characters should look like. But hey, once I have been thinking about, once the movie comes out, to do a second video and do a book versus movie review. If you would like to see something like that, go ahead and comment below. And thanks so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!